is going to give a more archaeological perspective on the way in which we have used earth as a building material. And it's one of the things I've been focusing on over the last 16 months from my very limited area of North Yorkshire. And it's this idea of all these lost prehistoric monuments in the landscape. We know earth has been used and in lots of different ways, but we don't know a great deal about its use in prehistory. Perhaps this is because we're so unused to seeing earth, perhaps because as archaeologists we're distracted by stone and timber, and both of those are easier to visualise than that tricky earth. But we can imagine a landscape where we would have seen many more earth structures, but that very long history of using earth is under research. So this is an example of the East Heselton Long Barrow. And long barrows are Neolithic burial monuments from the early to middle Neolithic period. So from about 3,500 to about 2,500 BC. And they were made using antler picks and shovels made from the shoulder blades of cattle. And each long barrow comprises a formal trapezoidal mound of stone with soil dug from adjacent quarries and then piled high around the stone structure. You can see a modern replica long barrow and then a reconstruction of what that making process might have been. The East Heselton Long Barrow was considered the second longest long barrow in England, and that's after a famous long barrow in Wiltshire. And the East Heselton Long Barrow contained a mortuary house made of massive oak timbers with a crescent-shaped facade facing eastwards towards the sea, and then it had another aspect down into the Great Wold Valley. But the barrow would not have been visible from most of the landscape. So this would have been a massive earth structure, and that was made up of the earth that had been excavated from the ditches and built up over the structural timbers. So whilst the East Heselton Long Barrow was constructed using timber and quarried earth and chalk, there are many other long barrows where stone rather than timber elements survive. And that stone walling as well must have combined some earth mortars. And of course, these earth mortars also don't survive. So the surviving archaeological record and vitally our interpretation of it significantly underplays the history of earth structures. When it was excavated in the 1960s, no burials were uncovered, but the excavators found the flanking ditches that cut into the chalk. And these ditches would have provided the material for constructing the mound. There were bedding trenches and post holes for the timber posts of an oak frame structure, and then this hole would have been covered with earth. So all of this earth, all of this vast legacy of using earth as a building material is now lost. You can see the East Heselton Long Barrow is now identified through aerial photographs and also marked out in the agricultural landscape through the area of sort of ploughed land around this scheduled monument, so this protected monument. And when the current landowner's father bought the farm in the 1920s or 30s, they actually couldn't get a plough pulled by 8 horses over this mound. It was perhaps 4 metres in height at that point. Now, 2021, it's perhaps a little less than 1 metre. So as an earthen archaeological site, it's overlooked, but that volume of earthen material from the ditches, from the trenches, and then for the construction of the mound is really remarkable. So at a time when our locality has influenced our work more than anything else, I hope we might start to think some more about our remarkable archaeological legacy of building with earth